Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Now, before we start the show, there's something I wanted to share. Khadi is often referred to as the fabric of freedom. It is intrinsic to India's independence struggle, culture and values. And now, Prasar Bharati has collaborated with Khadi India to promote this shared heritage. From today, anchors of DT India and DT News will don Khadi attire especially designed by Khadi India, including this bandagala that I'm wearing. All right, let's now turn to news of the day with the headlines. India poised to sign trade agreement with four-nation EFTA bloc on Sunday. Agreement to pave way for investment of $100 billion in India over the next 15 years. India presents extensive model for UNSC reform on behalf of G4 nations. Proposal displays flexibility on the veto issue, elicits strong support from wider UN members. In a big development push to northeast India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches multiple projects worth over $6.6 billion in 6 states of the region. Says expansion of industries to be next phase of development in the northeast. And Pakistan People's Party co-chairperson Asif Ali Zardari, elected as Pakistan's 14th president, becomes the head of state for a second time. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed Viksit Bharat Viksit Northeast program in Itanagar in the northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh today. PM Modi inaugurated and dedicated to the nation, laid the foundation stone for multiple development projects worth over $6.6 billion in Manipur, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura and Arunachal Pradesh. The development projects encompass sectors like rail, road, health, housing, education, border infrastructure, IT, power, oil and gas, among others. Prime Minister also launched the Unnati scheme worth about $1.2 billion. Besides, the Sela Tunnel project, constructed at a cost of over $100 million, is an engineering marvel. It will provide all-weather connectivity to Tawang across Sela Pass on the Balipara-Charidwar-Tawang road in Arunachal Pradesh. It has been constructed using the new Austrian tunneling method, incorporates safety features of higher standards. The project will not only provide a faster and a more efficient transport route in the region, but is also of great strategic importance to the country. Addressing the gathering, Prime Minister said Northeast is becoming a strong link for trade and tourism with South Asia and East Asia. Prime Minister spoke about Modi ki guarantee.
मोदी की गारंटी ये तो सुन ही रहे हैं आप लोग, लेकिन मोदी की गारंटी का मतलब क्या होता है, ये जरा अरुणाचल में आएंगे ना, इतने दूर सुदूर आपको साक्षात नजर आएगा। पूरा नॉर्थ ईस्ट देख रहा है कि मोदी की गारंटी कैसे काम कर रही है। 2019 में यहीं से मैंने सेला टनल का शिलान्यास करने का काम किया था, और आज क्या हुआ, बन गया कि नहीं बन गया, बन गया कि नहीं बन गया। क्या इसको गारंटी कहते हैं कि नहीं कहते हैं? ये गारंटी पक्की गारंटी है कि नहीं है? देखिए 2019 में ही डोनी पोलो एयरपोर्ट का भी शिलान्यास मैंने किया था। आज ये एयरपोर्ट शानदार सेवाएं दे रहा है कि नहीं दे रहा है? अब बताइए, अगर मैंने 2019 में किया ना, तो कुछ लोगों को लगता था कि मोदी तो चुनाव के लिए कर रहा है। समय कोई भी हो, वर्ष कोई भी हो, महीना कोई भी हो, मेरा काम सिर्फ और सिर्फ देशवासियों के लिए होता है, जनता जनार्दन के लिए होता है, आपके लिए होता है।
Sela Tunnel is constructed at a cost of more than $100 million. Will provide all-weather connectivity to Tawang across Sela Pass. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke with DG of Border Roads Organisation on the utility of the tunnel for military and civilian affairs.
I'm at the entrance of Sela Tunnel, which is more than 13,000 feet high. The temperature right now is almost freezing point, and as we go inside, it would dip more. This tunnel provides an all-weather access, especially to the armed forces, and also very convenient for the civilians. I have with me the DG of the Border Roads Organization, General Srinivasan. When we say this is an all-weather access tunnel, what does it mean?
To say that, you first have to understand the access to Tawang has always been through the Sela Pass. Now, Sela Pass itself remains snowbound for approximately 20 days in the year, and snowfall falls approximately 130 days in the total year, which has to be cleared. Now, because it is single lane, because it has so many zigs to it, and because of the snow which falls on it, the amount of traffic which can ply on it is limited. This tunnel system, both Tunnel 1 and Tunnel 2, ensure that we don't have to climb the pass, and no matter what the weather, we will be able to access Tawang.
How important is this tunnel, especially for the military challenges, and helpful for it?
Definitely. I mean, to have all-weather connectivity to Tawang, which is a strategically very important region, is imperative. And this tunnel provides that all-weather connectivity, so that no matter what is the snow condition, whatever is the weather conditions, we will be able to get whatever forces need to move into the Tawang region, they can move.
So there you heard DG BRO. He's quite a contented person, and why not? The difficult task has been accomplished. With cameraman Yogesh inside the Sela Tunnel, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated and dedicated to the nation, laid the foundation stone for multiple development projects in Jorhat, Assam on Saturday. The development projects encompass sectors of health, oil and gas, rail and housing. Prime Minister also visited the famous Kaziranga National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Assam. PM unveiled a 125 feet tall statue of medieval era Ahom General Lachit Borphukan.
In a monumental step towards transforming the infrastructure landscape of Northeast India, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated and laid the foundation stone for multiple development projects worth more than $2 billion in Assam's Jorhat district. Saturday's development projects encompass the sectors of health, oil and gas, rail and housing. Prime Minister said, unlike previous governments, these projects are being completed within deadline.
कांग्रेस के लंबे शासनकाल में नॉर्थ ईस्ट को दशकों तक सरकार की उपेक्षा सहनी पड़ी है। विकास की कई परियोजनाओं का शिलान्यास करके फोटो खिंचवा ली, लोगों को गुमराह कर दिया और फिर भाग गए, हाथ खींच लिए। लेकिन मोदी पूरे नॉर्थ ईस्ट को अपना परिवार मानता है, इसलिए हमने उन प्रोजेक्ट्स को भी पूरा करने पर फोकस किया जिन्हें वर्षों से लटकाया जा रहा था, कागज पर लिख करके छोड़ दिया गया था। भाजपा सरकार ने सराय घाट पर दूसरे ब्रिज, ढोला सदिया ब्रिज और बोगी बिल ब्रिज का काम पूरा कर उन्हें देश की सेवा में समर्पित किया।
The Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for various projects including Medical College and Hospital at Sivasagar and capacity expansion of Digboi Refinery. Prime Minister also dedicated to the nation new medical college and hospital at Tinsukia. Railway projects worth more than $157 million and nearly 500,000 homes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. This is a significant milestone towards providing housing for rural households.
पहले हम लोगों का घर कच्चा था, हमारा जो प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना का एक तो घर मिला, तो इसलिए हम अपना दिल से प्रधानमंत्री जी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ।
During his visit to Assam, the Prime Minister marked a historic moment with the inauguration of the 125 feet high Statue of Valor honoring the legendary Ahom General Lachit Borphukan in Jorhat. The project also includes the construction of Lachit and Tai Ahom Museum and a 500-seating capacity auditorium. During his visit, Prime Minister urged tourists to visit tea gardens in Assam. He also praised the tea garden community of Assam for their hard work. Prime Minister also visited Kaziranga National Park, which is also a treasured UNESCO World Heritage Site. Prime Minister also interacted with a team of women forest guards, Vandruga.
It was wonderful opportunity for us, especially when the country's own Prime Minister decides to spend a night in Kaziranga and wants to visit and spends 2 hours of his precious and valuable time in a park. That just shows his concern for the wildlife, it shows its concern for communities, and most important, the concern for the forest frontline.
At the Kaziranga National Park, Prime Minister Modi spent some time feeding sugarcane to the beloved elephants of Kaziranga, including Lakhimai, Pradyumna, and Fulmai, symbolizing the harmonious relationship between humans and wildlife in this majestic sanctuary. With inputs from Tapas Bhattacharya, Mihir Makri for DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also addressed Viksit Bharat, Viksit West Bengal program in Siliguri, West Bengal today. PM inaugurated, dedicated to the nation, multiple projects of rail road sector worth more than 4,500 crore rupees in West Bengal. Prime Minister dedicated to the nation multiple projects of electrification of rail lines benefiting people of North Bengal and nearby regions. He also dedicated other important rail projects, including the projects for doubling of rail line in Manigram and Nimitita section. Speaking on the occasion, PM underlined that the northern part of West Bengal is the gateway to the northeast and also provides trade channels with neighboring countries. India has presented a detailed model on behalf of the G4 nations for reform of United Nations Security Council. This model proposes the inclusion of new permanent members who would be elected democratically by the General Assembly. It demonstrates flexibility on the issue of the veto. Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj presented the G4 model on behalf of Brazil, Germany, Japan and India, aiming to initiate debate, dialogue and ultimately negotiations. These proposals received strong support from a wide range of UN members.
India has proposed a detailed model representing the G4 nations for Security Council reform. It suggests adding new permanent members elected by the General Assembly and shows flexibility on the veto issue. India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, emphasized the importance of the UN's 88th anniversary next year as a milestone to make tangible progress on the long-pending issues of Security Council reform. Participating in the intergovernmental negotiation, she represented the G4 model on behalf of Brazil, Germany, Japan and India, sparking a strong support from a wide range of UN members.
We join the majority of member states in calling for a reformed Security Council that is more representative of the UN membership, with members elected through a charter-based democratic process. Under the model, we advocate that any member, large or small, is welcome to be a candidate for a new permanent seat on a reformed council to be elected in a General Assembly election on the basis of its own merit and capacity to assume responsibility for maintaining international peace and security.
Kamboj highlighted that the geopolitical landscape has significantly evolved since the Security Council's establishment in 1945. She emphasized the need for change in line with current realities during her presentation of the comprehensive G4 model to UN member states.
The G4 position on the issue of the veto, colleagues, is very well known. While the new permanent members would, as a principle, have the same responsibilities and obligations as current permanent members, they shall not exercise the veto until a decision on the matter has been taken during a review. Since the issue of the veto is important, it would be desirable to sort it out with other critical topics. And at the same time, we should not allow the veto issue to have a veto over the process of the Council reform itself. Our proposal, I would also add, is also a gesture of showing flexibility on the issue for a constructive negotiation.
The G4 model suggests expanding the Security Council's membership from 15 to 25-26 with the addition of 5 permanent and 4 or 5 non-permanent members. Of the 6 new permanent members, 2 each are proposed to be from African states and Asia-Pacific states, 1 from Latin America and Caribbean states, and 1 from Western European and other states. Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
And joining me is Dr. Anshu Joshi from School of International Studies, JNU. Good evening and welcome, ma'am. How do you see, do the UN reforms proposed by India take into account the needs and realities of 21st century geopolitics?
Indeed, Shuvendu, and it's a very welcoming step, and the entire world, especially the nations from the global south, are awaiting for this much needed reforms in United Nations Security Council. It's the most powerful body of among the 6 principal organs of United Nations. In 1945, when it was established, it had United Nations had 51 members. Look at the number of member states now. Now United Nations has 190 plus member states. But look at the representation of permanent and other members in United Nations Security Council. Still the number is same. So that is why, while participating in this recent intergovernmental negotiations on Security Council Forum, that is IGN, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, that is our Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj, very well put forward that when United Nations is all ready to celebrate its 80th anniversary next year, it's a milestone to ensure that some concrete progress should be made from the platform of United Nations. And reforms in United Nations Security Council is something what not only India but the other like-minded nations also want to ensure proper debate, dialogue and representation of and leadership role of global south nations. So what is India proposing? India proposing a G4 model, which proposes that the number of membership in Security Council should increase from present 15 to 25 to 26. So there should be 6 permanent members and 4 or 5 non-permanent members could be there. They should be democratically chosen, and among these permanent members, India has also proposed, it's a very significant proposal, that 2 should be from African states, 2 should be from Asia-Pacific state region, 2 should be from Latin America and Caribbean region, 1 could be from Western European region and other states. So India actually wants the democratization of this United Nations Security Council, because in recent past we have seen that it could not sort out issues like Russia-Ukraine war, or for that matter Israel-Hamas conflict.
Now, the call for reforms of UNSC are not new. What are the chances of this model being used to undertake real change and reforms at the UNSC?
I think that India has already set the tone of these reforms when it took up the presidency of G20, and India could not only successfully democratize the platform of G20 by adding new members, especially the African Union, to it. Similarly, what India is now proposing to United Nations Security Council is welcomed by most of the like-minded nations. For example, France has already tweeted France is welcoming this proposal from India. There are other nations like Germany and Japan who are welcoming India's proposal, and definitely there would be a process, Shuvendu, but I think that the world agrees that now United Nations Security Council has under-representation in terms of the key regions from this membership's point of view, and I think that it would take some time, but definitely when India has proposed this much awaited reforms, they're going to happen sooner or later in UNSC.
Dr. Anshu Joshi, thank you for sharing your perspective. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Pakistan People's Party co-chairperson Asif Ali Zardari elected as Pakistan's 14th president on Saturday. A ship laden with relief supplies for Gaza preparing to depart Cyprus as part of effort to aid a population on the brink of famine. And Armenia seeks to forge closer ties with the West. Foreign Minister says country is considering to apply for European Union membership.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. On Friday, Pakistan's former President Asif Ali Zardari was elected as the country's 14th president. Zardari received support from Pakistan's ruling coalition in a parliamentary and regional assembly vote. He got 411 votes, easily defeating the 181 votes cast for nationalist leader Mahmood Khan Azkazai, who was backed by jail leader Imran Khan's party. The newly elected President Zardari will succeed Pakistan's incumbent President Dr. Arif Alvi, whose 5-year term ended last year. Moving on, US Navy ships and aircraft shot down 15 uncrewed aerial vehicles, UAVs fired by Yemen's Houthis in the Red Sea area early on Saturday. US Central Command says that the military was responding to a large-scale attack by Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists launched into the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. It further added UAVs were determined to present an imminent threat to merchant vessels, US Navy and coalition ships in the region. Meanwhile, Houthis on early Saturday targeted bulk carrier Propel Fortune in the Gulf of Aden. Houthis military spokesperson Yahya Saraya, in a televised speech, gave details of the attack. He also said on Saturday they targeted a number of American war destroyers at the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden with 37 drones. In a tragic and shocking accident, at least 5 people were killed, 10 injured after a parachute carrying humanitarian aid for Gaza failed to open and crashed into civilians. The parachute came crashing down onto a group of civilians who had gathered to receive food in north of Gaza City Sheti refugee camp. The Gaza government in a statement said it had previously warned that airdrops of this nature pose a threat to the lives of people residing in the Gaza Strip. The EU has announced the opening of a sea corridor this weekend for shipping humanitarian aid from Cyprus to Gaza in the race to stave off the famine that is already claiming lives. This comes after the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said a maritime aid corridor could start operating between Cyprus and Gaza as part of accelerating Western efforts to relieve the humanitarian crisis in the war-ravaged Palestinian enclave.
We are launching this Cyprus Maritime Corridor together. Cyprus, the European Union, the United Arab Emirates and the United States. And it is your relentless work to get this corridor up and running, despite all the challenges, and this is truly inspiring. We are now very close to the opening of the corridor, hopefully this Sunday.
And DD India correspondent Alex Cadier gets us more from Jerusalem.
Well, that deadline to reach a ceasefire deal is fast approaching, and US President Joe Biden says it will be tough to get a deal before Sunday. That is when the Israelis have said they will go into Rafah and launch a military operation into Rafah in southern Gaza if a deal to release those hostages is not reached. But also we expect Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, to start on Sunday as well, and that will be a flashpoint here in Jerusalem. President Joe Biden again saying he is concerned that this city will become a flashpoint, will become a place for clashes between worshippers and police. Those worshippers trying to get to Al-Aqsa Mosque, that mosque behind me, the third holiest site in Islam, and being perhaps frustrated on their way to do so by Israeli border police. That is some of the flashpoints that we can expect to see here in the coming days. There will be a tension over this city, particularly as those ceasefire talks are stalled or are tough, as Joe Biden says it. On the other hand, the US military is going to start building that artificial pier off the coast of Gaza to allow bigger ships to bring in that much needed humanitarian aid, much needed food. The US military saying it will take 60 days and around 1,000 US Army personnel to build it, but that doesn't mean aid is not on the way already. We know that ships are being loaded up in Cyprus now by charities coordinated with the European Union. They will set sail for Gaza. It will take about 2 or 3 days for them to get there. They will set sail on Saturday or Sunday. So that food, that aid will start trickling in. It's been described as a pilot program by Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission. The question remains, how will that food then get off these bigger ships and on to Gaza? That has still not been determined. This is one of the main challenges in getting food to Gaza, where the UN says nearly 500,000 people are on the edge of famine. So that is the dire situation on the ground in Gaza, the tense situation here in Jerusalem, and no progress in those ceasefire talks. Alex Kadya in Jerusalem reporting for DD India.
Some other stories. Armenia is considering applying for European Union membership as it seeks to forge closer ties with the West in the face of tensions with traditional ally Russia. Speaking to Turkey's world television station TRT, Armenia's foreign minister Arafat Mirzoyan said many new opportunities are largely being discussed in Armenia nowadays, and that will not be a secret. I quote, he says, if I say that includes membership in the European Union. Since coming to power in 2018 revolution, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has deepened Armenia's ties with Europe and the United States, repeatedly drawing ire of the traditional ally, Russia. And we're heading for a short break. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India poised to sign trade agreement with four-nation EFTA bloc on Sunday. We talk about the significance of this pact. Indian Army and Navy, along with Air Force, will be carrying out multi-domain exercise Bharat Shakti on 12th March at Pokhran. India's IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav launches India's fastest and indigenously developed multi-protocol label switching router in Bengaluru. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. India is poised to sign trade agreement with four-nation EFTA bloc on Sunday. EFTA comprises Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. Agreement is to pave way for an investment of about $100 billion in India over the next 15 years. Here's more.
India and the four-nation European Free Trade Association, or EFTA, are set to sign a trade deal on Sunday, March the 10th. The European Free Trade Association is the intergovernmental organization of Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland. EFTA countries are not part of the European Union. India's exports to EFTA countries during 2022-2023 stood at $1.92 billion. Imports aggregated at $16.74 billion during the same period. EFTA has 29 free trade agreements with 40 partner countries including Canada, Chile, China, Mexico and Korea. Now let's take a look at some of the highlights of India-EFTA deal. India and EFTA have been negotiating the pact since 2008. Agreement has 14 chapters including trade in goods, rules of origin, intellectual property rights, trade in services, investment promotion and cooperation, government procurement, technical barriers to trade and trade facilitation. The agreement, along with greater market access, also has commitment for investment of $100 billion in India over the next 15 years to generate 1 million jobs. Countries like Switzerland have eliminated import duties on industrial goods while maintaining them on agricultural products. Deal could see a reduction of tariffs on gold, a significant demand from the trading bloc, particularly Switzerland. India has maintained stance on intellectual property rights, emphasizing that concessions related to data exclusivity are not being offered. After the India-EFTA deal, India could see higher imports of machinery, pharmaceuticals, medical instruments and machinery, as there would be a sharp reduction in Indian tariffs. India is also looking at the EFTA deal to help diversify imports away from China. India currently depends on China for key medical imports. Free trade agreements play a key role for a fast-growing large economy like India. Along with other advantages, FTAs allow exporters access to international market at low custom duties. India has been discussing free trade agreements with several partners, both bilateral and regional. India-UK FTA negotiations are said to be at an advanced stage. India so far has inked 13 free trade agreements with its partners, the most recent ones with Mauritius, UAE and Australia.
And joining me now is Professor Manoj Pant, economist and former VC IIFT. Good evening and welcome. Professor Pant, if you could simplify for us, how does India-EFTA deal offer a unique opportunity for both the sides to trade and grow?
See, you must never see FTA, this is a little more than FTA, agreements like EFTA agreement, in isolation. They are part of a pattern. And the pattern is, one, to make sure we are doing deals with countries we do trade in. That's one. So you can see the pattern. UAE first. UAE is followed by looking at negotiations with other countries and in other parts of Europe. Now we're looking at EU one. We're looking at UK. Now these UK and EU are going to be longer drawn because the contention issues are very high. So we are moving towards the EU, etc., by looking at other economies, like, for example, other smaller movement like EFTA. Now, EFTA, of course, our major trading partner, of course, there is, of course, is Switzerland. Switzerland is also the major source of investment into India. You know, people don't realize that Switzerland is a country of very small-scale manufacturing, and that they export small-scale things. So I expect a lot more increase in Indo-Singapore trade, and we are going to be recipients of imports more than exports. That's very clear, because our tariffs are going to fall. But what are we expected to do? And I would like to see the agreement a little more detailed later on. The important thing is to link our imports and tariff reductions with inward investment. I mean, I don't know how far the investment agreement has progressed. That's a critical part of the European Free Trade Agreement, not the commodity agreement. The commodity trade, you've seen yourself, less than $2 billion of India's exports, maybe a little more of imports, and imports is almost mostly gold. And a lot of machinery from Sweden. So nothing very phenomenal in terms of trade pattern, but where we can get phenomenal investments is inward investment. Here I would particularly think it is crucial to look at a country like Switzerland. Switzerland is a country not often on the mainframe, right? Because not politically a very high country, but very, very critical. It's a country of small-scale industries. India is more and more, should it, in fact, be looking more and more at the impacts on MSMEs. MSMEs constitute 99% of MSMEs in India are what are called micro. And they constitute the dominant amount of industries in India, which politically are very critical. They have to be taken forward along with business. Now, what is wrong with the MSMEs? What is right with MSMEs? What can they do? Collaboration with countries and SMEs in Sweden would be crucial. So I'm looking more at the movement on the investment agreement than just at the commodity agreement.
And in the context of the investment, Professor Pant, about $100 billion is being talked about in the coming years. That is going to be crucial in India's growth and development journey as well at a point like this.
Absolutely. I would say that without, of course, those are just numbers, right? These are numbers we talk about. Even if 50 billion comes, forget 100 billion.
Sure.
If 50 billion comes, I believe it would come from countries like maybe even Iceland, but certainly Switzerland would make a huge difference to the MSME landscape in terms of moving forward towards this vision of a developed country that we are now looking at. I mean, they're critical.
And Professor Pant, you mentioned that one of the key imports from, say, a country like Switzerland would be in the form of gold. Now, with this agreement, when trade tariffs are also reformed, what would it mean to sort of import gold from Switzerland after this agreement?
See, what do we import gold from? Two. One is, of course, the precious issue, so many things used in marriages, religious function. But the other is as industrial gold. And we use a lot of this gold, which we do convert to jewelry. We are major importers of gold, which we convert into jewelry. So that imports of gold is going to actually jump quite a lot. But we will get that back in terms of conversion into jewelry, which we export back. And we are major exporter of jewelry. But let me tell you, there are always every FTA, there are always some exclusions. And I believe, I don't know the details, the Indian government and the Singaporean government, the Swiss governments know that there's not going to be any blanket reduction. But I am a firm believer as an economist, in the long run, these imports are coming not because we have nothing else to do, but because they go into our exports. I do believe it helps the export effort. The imports, along with the investment, can make a big difference to India's export effort to areas like, for example, gems and jewelry.
And finally, Professor Pant, the imports will also help us diversify from what is coming in from China. Do you think that's an important factor?
It would be only in the context of, I don't see how that's going to be so important. Again, we are, frankly, the most important thing in EFTA is Switzerland. I mean, that's the point. Can we get some of our machinery? We rely a lot on China on machinery. If you look at the imports of machinery, I think we are already diversifying away for imports of electronic goods. I think now moving towards import of industrial goods, especially engineering goods. That's the focus. That's what we have to find. Once again, it's linked to investment. The development of the investment agreement between India and EFTA as part of the India and Switzerland as part of the EFTA will, I think, make a big difference how far we diversify away from China. Because remember one thing, China, for all its problems, is still a very low-cost supplier. We don't know how close to that cost we are going to get from the EFTA partners. But the crucial thing again is, if the investment comes to India, we can get away from reliance on China, not just because of cheaper imports, but because we can make it cheaper within the country. I think that's more important.
Right. It'll be interesting to read the fine print of the deal once it's done. Professor Pant, appreciate you joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective.
Thank you.
Indian Army, Navy and Air Force will be carrying out a multi-domain exercise, Bharat Shakti, on 12th March at Pokhran. The exercise will be showcasing made-in-India weapons and platforms, apart from demonstrating the synergy of the three services.
This exercise will showcase high synergy, multi-service, multi-domain capability, thereby demonstrating inter-service integration. Since the event is being conducted at Pokhran, it imposes certain terrain restrictions on the employment of naval maneuvers. So therefore, such capabilities will be transmitted digitally on screen, and some of them will also be showcased in the static equipment display.
India's Minister for Electronics and Information and Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, launched India's fastest and indigenously developed multi-protocol label switching router in Bengaluru on Saturday. This will bolster India's digital infrastructure, support the demand for high-speed data processing and transmission. And we're heading for a short break. There's more coming up.
bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Prasar Bharati and Khadi Village Industries Commission (KVIC) has formally launched the collaboration between the two, wherein from March 9th, anchors from both DD News and DD India would be proudly donning the Khadi attire. Khadi is intrinsic to heritage of India, and keeping in mind the vision of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who gave a clarion call for making Khadi a fashion statement.
कई वर्षों में एक विचार बन गया था लोगों का कि खादी जो है वो केवल कुछ लोग ही पहनते हैं, जो या तो राजनेता या अधिकारी और या फिर केवल कुछ सीमित क्षेत्रों में उसका उपयोग होता है। अब वो बदल करके सभी के लिए एक वस्त्र बन चुका है। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने विकास भी और विरासत भी दो इस तरीके से प्रस्तुत किया है। कई बार उन्होंने ये बात कही है और आई थिंक आज का जो ये हमारा कार्यक्रम है ये बिल्कुल पूरी तरीके से उस विकास और विरासत को साथ लेकर के चलने वाली एक बात है।
दूरदर्शन और खादी इंडिया की ये पहल मुझे लगता है संचार क्रांति में जितने लोग अपने आप को मठाधीश करके बैठे हैं उनको यहाँ से सीखना चाहिए कि हमारी खादी को अगर वास्तव में आगे बढ़ाना है, उसको आगे लेके जाना है, हमारे युवाओं के लिए फैशन स्टेटमेंट बनाना है और ग्रामीण भारत में दूर दराज पे बैठी कोई मेरी माँ, कोई मेरी बहन पूरे परिश्रम के साथ जब इस धागे को बनाती है, इस खादी को बनाती है, तो उसके पसीने की महक, उससे बना हुआ उत्पाद अगर हमारे एंकर यहाँ पहनेंगे तो उसकी गूंज सिर्फ यहाँ नहीं उन तक भी पहुँचेगी जो खादी को अपनाना नहीं चाहते।
And the audiences of DD News and DD India will see anchors of the two channels a new look and feel. Prasar Bharati and Khadi and Village Industries Commission (KVIC) signed MOU to launch Khadi outfits to be worn by all anchors of India's national broadcaster, DD News and DD India. The MOU was signed on September 18th, 2023.
It's the fabric of the nation. It's patriotism, it's your love for the country. It's something that binds us all together as Indians.
Khadi, a fabric that breathes warm in winter and cool in summer. It represents India's self-reliance, legacy, traditions and pride of rural productivity. Khadi, a hand-spun, hand-woven, skin-friendly fabric that breathes. And now it is ready to breathe life into the styling of anchors of channels which are synonymous to authenticity. Anchors of DD News and DD India are all set to don Khadi apparels and showcase the symbol of sustainable clothing, bridging tradition with modernity.
Having it on DD, where millions and millions of people are seeing this and where they will be writing underneath that this is a Khadi product, when every time you see somebody endorsing the dress the anchors are wearing, and this time it is going to be KVIC and Khadi. Can't get anything better than that.
This is all thanks to an MOU signed between Khadi and Village Industries Commission (KVIC) and Prasar Bharati on September 18th, 2023.
This was a totally new experience, and the fact that everybody took it so, they welcomed us. Let's say they welcomed us and they were happy to see a new kind of style. It's a labor of love, and this journey has only been possible because of the help from all the news anchors, from the management, from the consultants that they have. At the end of it, we are happy. What's more important is if the anchor is happy. And what is most important is that when they appear on television, then everybody will see the difference.
During India's independence struggle, Mahatma Gandhi adopted khadi as a tool to fight the British and make the country self-reliant. From playing an important part in the freedom struggle to the contemporary times, khadi's acceptance with the people of India has never gone out of fashion. Irrespective of age and gender, khadi clothes are a hit with people across the globe. Be it kurtas, shirts, jackets or saris, the fabric of India has something for everyone. And now with this new collaboration between Prasar Bharati and KVIC, it is a marriage of two institutions which are symbolic of heritage, tradition and credibility. A new look and feel awaits the audience of DD News and DD India, and an apt promotion of khadi products across the globe with this historic agreement.
To have the opportunity to be able to design for, these anchors who are representing the country every single day, from news to whatever's happening around the country, they are the face of the country. They are the ones who actually communicate what is happening around the country to us and to the billions of Indians that live around the country. So I do think it's a fabulous opportunity for me, and I'm just very proud to have been able to combine my love for textile, for sustainability, the pride I have as an Indian, and bring it all together in this story. I just think this is going to be a whole new look. And where we are as a country, where we are today, as what the world is looking at us as Indians, is what I'm hoping will come across with this new wardrobe, with this new design aesthetic for the Doordarshan anchors. And I think they stand for the new India, the proud India, the strong India that we are today.
Embrace yourself for a unique collaboration that celebrates tradition, innovation and sustainability, together shaping a brighter future. This is where tradition meets news.
It's great to be part of the khadi tradition. Moving on, the Assistant High Commissioner of India in Kandy marked International Women's Day with a vibrant celebration at Saha Toyana in Sri Lanka. The event was attended by 400 women from diverse backgrounds. The event featured various activities such as dance performance, breast cancer awareness and an empowerment session by Revlon. AHCI extended support to para-athlete Ms. Janani Dharanjana and distributed uniforms to female vendors. Fuel coupons were also given to female tuk-tuk drivers. AHC Dr. Athira S. emphasized upon women's empowerment, joined by influential speakers like Niranjani Shamugraja. The celebration included a medical screening camp and an Ayurveda medical camp benefiting hundreds of women. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time for sports. India decimated England in the fifth test by an innings and 64 runs to clinch the series 4-1. Series of milestones. Indian off-spinner Ravichandran Ashwin, England skipper and batter Johnny Bairstow made their 100th test appearance. As many as 7 players from both the sides made their debut. More in the story.
India crushed England by an innings and 64 runs inside 3 days of the fifth and final test in Dharamshala to clinch the series 4-1. England were all out for 195 in their second innings. Joe Root waged a lone battle and top scored with 84. Off-spinner Ravichandran Ashwin claimed 5 wickets for 77 in his 100th test match for a haul of 9 wickets. He also crossed milestone of 500 test wickets. Kuldeep Yadav was adjudged player of the match primarily for his 5-wicket haul in the first innings. India opener Jaiswal won the player of the series for his aggregate of 712 runs, which included 2 double hundreds from 9 innings. India were without several frontline players and fielded 5 debutants in the series. Wicketkeeper Dhruv Jurel, batters Sarfaraz Khan and Devdutt Pallikal and seamer Akashdeep were impressive. This was India's 17th consecutive test series win at home. It was England's first series defeat under captain Ben Stokes and coach Brendan McCullum, who have championed an ultra-aggressive approach to test cricket. But it was not only gloom and doom for the tourists. England can take heart from the performance of spinners Shoaib Bashir and Tom Hartley, both playing in their debut series. Furthermore, Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes joined the 100 Test Club. England warhorse James Anderson became the first seam bowler to claim 700 Test wickets. Sports Desk, DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on X and Instagram, also Facebook. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.